On September 11, 2001, the United States was changed forever. QCTV takes a look at how this day has affected our students and what the college is doing to commemorate for the 10th anniversary. To commemorate the 10th anniversary of 9/11, the LEAP office invited Whittier College students to Rose Hills Memorial Park for a remembrance service. On behalf of Rose Hills, what can you tell the Whittier community and to those affected?
Well, on behalf of I refer to it as the men and women of Rose Hills, and actually this particular event is really a community event, so it's not just Rose Hills, but our community. What I can tell them is that we're committed to remembering what happened to us 10 years ago as a country. We're also committed in showing appreciation for not only the first responders then, but also those people who take care of us and stand in harm's way, in danger's way for us every day. So it's both an evening of remembrance and kind of, remembrance and rebirth and resilience and all those kinds of words, but it's also one of appreciation. And so that's really what tonight's about.
Looking back at it now, what are your feelings towards 9/11, 10 years later?
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of the I'm going to call it the conventional feeling is that we're just committed not to forget what happened to us and to remain vigilant. And also, we talked a little bit tonight about the importance of the unity of the moment. And we tend to forget that, and politics get heated, and everybody has kind of an idea of how the world should be. But for that very moment, we were committed to one another in unity. And I think we as human beings need community. And that's really what I think I've learned from it, just how important working together and being together, and the moment when we put everything else aside and we became Americans unified.
Thank you so much. The program featured the Los Angeles Police Emerald Society Pipes and Drums Band, Rio Hondo Fire Academy Honor Guard, and representatives from the Salvation Army. So where were you when 9/11 took place?
Well, in 9/11, I was actually living here in Whittier, and I was taking a very early 5 a.m. karate class. So I was on my way to that class when I heard the news reports on my car on the way in of what was happening. So a tower had been struck, one plane so far. I pulled into the dojo and I walked in time to see the second plane hit the second tower. All the people that I worked out with in the morning were all men, black belt, former military, and all of them right away started shouting, "This is terrorism." And I, having had no experience with it, was really frightened by what they were saying and confused as to what was going on, and a bit incredulous. Could this really be an act of terrorism, and in our own city here in the United States?
Did you know anyone that was severely impacted by this, friends, family?
I did. I had a cousin who was working in Wall Street at the time, and he made it out. He was not in the buildings itself, was in the Twin Towers, but he was in the vicinity, covered in smoke and debris from the towers when they fell. It took him all day to get home to New Jersey where he lived, and he's really, quite frankly, never been the same since it happened. He suffered from depression in the months afterwards.
Looking back at this incident now, 10 years later, what are your feelings like towards it? Is it still kind of raw? Is it sensitive for you?
I wouldn't say it's sensitive for me. I think that I can look back and see that as a country we have changed a lot since this incident happened. Some for the better, in that we are cognizant of our vulnerability, and also in that there's strength in us as Americans, and I think that's a very good thing. But overall, I think that we can learn a lot from this incident in terms of how to prepare ourselves for the future and to be more aware.
Where were you when 9/11 took place?
I remember on the morning of 9/11, I actually woke up, I was in my house, and I actually went downstairs and I saw my parents watching the TV. And I was really, really confused because they were very, very impacted by what was going on. And as a 13, 14-year-old, I didn't really understand the context of it. But that night it was the orientation for my junior high class. And it was was really interesting because the topic was addressed and people brought it up. And I remember having such a limited, I guess, capacity when you're that young and not being able to understand everything. It was really interesting to kind of see that kind of connection, how things like that impact so many other things outside of just what's going on.
In remembrance and respect, this is Jordan Robledo for QCTV.